Welcome to the Single Era Diaries, exploring the journey of a woman who hasn't experienced what it's like to be single in her entire adult life, and pretty much most of her teenage life too. Each episode will navigate the journey of finding a sense of identity, exploring the challenges of co-parenting, finding love of self and healing, all whilst tackling the complexities of the checkered landscape of dating and dating apps, meeting new people, and operating solo in a world that celebrates couples, marriage, and codependency. I am your host, founder of Nascent Media and newly single woman, Jade Graham, and this is the diary of my single era. This is the final episode of the Single Era Diaries. We've arrived, and I know that there are many people who are wondering and have reached out and have messaged to ask, why is this the final episode of the Single Era Diaries? And I think for many people are hopeful and thinking it's the final episode of the Single Era Diaries because she's got her happy ending. And I want to put it out there right now that no, there is no happy ending. The end of the Single Era Diaries is not on the basis of my having run off into this beautiful sunset fairy tale kingdom where everything is going swimmingly. Far from it, actually. And whilst I'd always intended to wrap up the Single Era Diaries in 2024, largely because I didn't want to become some poor man's version of Carrie Bradshaw sharing the insights into my dating escapades. The reason why I'm wrapping up the season now, which is perhaps a little sooner than I had originally intended, is largely down to the acceptance that I really don't know what I'm doing when it comes to relationships and dating. And so as the show had transformed to become more of a self-help type podcast where I was sharing what I hoped could be some kind of wisdom and advice and guidance on how to date, how to heal, how to meet new people. The recognition that I am fundamentally the last person on earth that should be seeking to give advice to other people is really the reason why I am wrapping up the Single Era Diaries on season 3, episode 7. This show has been a real journey. It was an unplanned podcast, and for those who know me personally and for those who have followed the show from the beginning, you will be aware that this was not a planned podcast. There was no vision of talking about a single era of mine, largely because I didn't think that I was going to be single. I'm a woman that's in my early 40s. It really pains me to say that, but I'm in my early 40s, and I've spent the majority of my life in relationships, pretty much since I was a teenager. And so as my long-term relationship, as everybody knows, unraveled, I thought, okay, I'm going to talk about this journey because it's something that I haven't been through, and I'm quite sure, given that so very many people, from celebrities to everyday folk like myself, are splitting up. And so I wanted to share the journey and to share some insights. And what a journey it has been. What a journey of insights it has been to learn about how brutal the world of relationships and dating can be. I think on reflection, when I contemplate the duration of my last relationship, which was with a person who is of course now my co-parent, he is a friend, he's more like family. I've known him since my early 20s and we've been through an enormous amount together. But when I reflect on why it was that I continued to invest in that relationship that was so clearly wrong for me on so very many levels, and was arguably wrong for him too, is because I had a funny feeling that the world of dating and relationships was going to be an absolute hellscape. And whilst I really do believe in the power of positive thinking and the power of your mind, and what you think about is the world that you create, I also realise that it's not my mind that has created the hellscape that is the world of relationships and dating. It's some deep fracture in our society and culture that means that the essence of what it is to be human, which is to connect and to trust and to love and to show up and to share our emotions and to grow together and to heal one another, those parts of our culture and society don't seem to be available. And I do think that is maybe why I remained in my last relationship. I don't think it was fear of being single or fear of being alone. I have learned that I really enjoy my own company. I'm a great gal and I'm great to hang out with, even if it's just me, myself, and I. But I do remember being in my relationship and having single friends or friends that were sort of doing the cycle of getting into relationships and they're not working out and just thinking, that's a hellscape, that's a shit show, and I don't want it. And now, having experienced that firsthand, I can confirm that it is a shit show and a hellscape, and I definitely don't want it. So I think the wrap up of this show is really to pass back the mantle to those in the relationship and dating self-help space that maybe know a lot more than I do, although having listened to a lot of their advice and guidance, it transpires that in theory, a lot of that stuff is fantastic. In practice, not so much. And so I don't believe that this is a space that I can contribute to readily. And I think that for those that are tuning into this show to try and glean something or learn something about how to heal from the breakdown of a long-term partnership and to find love again, well, I'm not the gal to advise you on how to do that. And so without kind of spilling the entire details of my life, which I'm, as a very private person, the fact that I even created this show and shared an insight into what was going on in my personal life is completely bonkers. And I don't want to share the details of my personal life in this particular instance. What I will say is, for those of you that are exploring the dating world, for those of you that are putting yourself on dating apps, for those of you who believe that love exists, I don't want to dampen your enthusiasm, and I don't want to put you off from doing what is inherently that we're designed to do as humans, which is to fall in love. But what I will say is, don't convince yourself that if you're healed and you're in a place to move on to finding love, please air a lot of caution that so many of the people that are on these dating apps and out there in the world aren't ready for that. And the last thing that I would want anybody to do is experience the high and then the low of believing that you have been gifted this incredible, amazing gift from the universe that ticks pretty much every box. And I would hate for people to believe that chemistry and attraction and connection and camaraderie and the capacity to connect in a way that you have never done before is a recipe for success in starting a new relationship, because in my own experience it's not. And I think the lesson here is that yes, the universe, if you have a spiritual belief system as I do, that the universe will deliver us the things that we deserve and that we're wanting. That might all be true, but that's not to say that it's not also going to get taken away. And as a result of all of those things, I just feel that dating in your late 30s, early 40s, like if you have the stomach for that, I absolutely salute you. I feel like I am bruised and I am covered in scars from this situation of believing that connection and chemistry and camaraderie is enough to ride a storm. And what I'll also say to many of the female listeners that I have that listen to this show is that yes, do go out there and seek advice and guidance from some of these dating gurus and relationship gurus, but also recognize that it isn't a one size fits all situation, and that some of the advice that's out there on the internet is really counterintuitive to how your dating experience will unfold. And if you're looking for answers outside of yourself the entire time, that there is a possibility that you're going to trip yourself up because you're behaving outside of integrity. And I know that that's definitely what happened with me. I read cues that maybe weren't there. I misread things. I misinterpreted things. I believed things. I believed what was being said and was being shown to me. And I'm now in a place where I don't think it's safe to believe anything, actually. And that when you are looking for, the guidance from not necessarily just the internet, but maybe like friends who are also going through their own situations, and their advice is of course there to encourage and support you, there has to be this recognition that everybody's individual and respective situation is unique, and it's impossible almost to share an insight into what's going on in somebody else's dynamic, because your own dynamic is a projection of what you're experiencing. And when you're advising, you're projecting what you're experiencing with the nuances of your background and your upbringing and the way that you think and view the world. And that's the same for any person that you're entertaining, dating, or having a relationship with. And so I feel like it's a bit of a cautionary message to those that are seeking love. And I don't want to rain on people's parade, but I do feel that I have a responsibility to share that it's not easy out there, and that a lot of what you might encounter by way of social media sharing, or even just people kind of talking that you might overhear talking about the dating experience, it really is brutal. And I think it can be all the more brutal if you're somebody that is emotionally mature, that has done some work on yourself. And I think it's also really brutal if you believe in love, which I do. Like, I believe in love to my absolute core. I believe that love is the solution for absolutely everything. Every problem and issue in the entire world can be solved with love, but not everybody feels that way, and not everybody is able to receive love. They're not able to receive pure love or true love or just all of the things that come with it, because love isn't always easy, but it is supposed to feel easy. And there are people out there that aren't able to feel that ease. My nose is actually running because I'm so emotional as I'm talking about this. But I think for now and forever, the Single Era Diaries is something that I will look back on, not necessarily fondly, but it is a period of time that I'm very grateful and glad that I had the tenacity, whatever word that is, to share an insight into my world. And I really hope that it has helped others that have either tuned into the podcast or have engaged with the social media content or have read the blogs or have just sort of followed my journey from afar, because I do know that there are a lot of people out there who are in relationships that aren't serving them, aren't doing them well, they don't feel good in them, they don't feel like they can truly be themselves, and they don't feel like they're receiving what it is that they believe they deserve. And I know that for many of those people there is, and I say this from experience of being in my long-term relationship, there's a fear of going outside of that relationship. There's a fear of individuation. There's a fear of operating outside of the realms of what it is to be in a couple or a partnership or a marriage. And that fear is valid in very many ways, because if you are somebody that wants to give and receive love, and if you are somebody that wants to share time and interests and life with another person, then of course it's really difficult to separate yourself from that you're experiencing. But what I will also say is that the people who are not in successful relationships and have exited those relationships, that there is a lot of healing that needs to happen within those people. And so if you're in the dating pool with lots of other wounded people, then chances are you're going to be wounded again. And I know that there will be people who will listen to that, and of course those that have gone on to have very successful relationships or are in relationships now that are blossoming and blooming, and they met those people on dating apps or after relationships had dissolved. And I get that people can change, but I really do believe from my own personal experience that there's a lot of risk involved, and dependent on how far along you are in your own healing journey, that the risks might not necessarily be something that you're able to take, because healing from something that was wrong for you and finding something that you feel is right for you and that you feel like you've been looking for, like all of those aspects that you've been missing, and you find that and you don't get to keep it, it's pretty damn painful. So on that note, I recognise this is a short episode, and that's okay, because it's the end. It is the end of the Single Era Diaries. And I want to thank everybody that has listened and has followed the journey and has been supportive and encouraging. And what I will also say is that Nascent Media is in the process of producing some new and interesting audio originals that are not going to be divulging the inner world of my private life and my heartbreak. And so I really look forward to sharing those with you. So be sure to follow and continue seeing what it is that's been put out by Nascent Media on social media, because there's some really interesting audio storytelling and some video shorts as well that are coming up. But for now, if you are dating in the hellscape and nightmare that is the modern day dating world of 2024, I wish you so much luck. I wish you so much love. I wish you so much light. I really do hope that others out there can find what it is that they're looking for and that they can keep it and that it stays, because love is the centre of the universe, and I really just wish that people could just lean into it when it happens. Anyway, date safely, stay safe, and if you can, try and make the world a better place. Be good, be kind, love freely, dance like no one's watching, sing loudly, tell people you love them, because, you know, tomorrow's not promised. Anyway, peace out. The Single Era Diaries is produced and distributed by Nascent Media and executive produced by me, Jade Graham. Podcasts grow by being liked and shared, so if you enjoyed today's show, then please be sure to like and share with a friend who you think will enjoy the show too. Subscribe, and if you have a moment to rate and review wherever it is that you listen to your podcast, that would be super appreciated too. Thank you for listening, and peace out.